Okay, here we are. What's up? Thank you. I'm here for a long time. How's it going? My name is Katie. I am the youth pastor here, and also awkward as we all are. And if we haven't met before, well, we're going to meet real good today, so that's exciting. So this morning we're starting a new series called Body Image. I'm not going to be talking about your body image, thank God. I'm really not the person to talk about that. I know we all struggle with that, but we're going to be looking at it a little bit differently today. Talking about our body image and how we're all connected through the body of Christ. So I wanted to start this morning about talking about the joy of disconnection. That doesn't really make sense when you put that phrase together, the joy of disconnection, but I am going to try and help you make sense of it because I think we all feel a little bit of joy when we're disconnected, and I'll show you how in just a few minutes. But my friend Bill says it best: disconnected things are dead. Bill Fowler 2021. We're actually going to make that a t-shirt. Just kidding. He may run for president. Who knows? I think that's a great, slogan, I guess you would say. But disconnected things are dead. And I would like to start off this morning about talking about a time when I was very much physically disconnected. One time in college, I was I think I was a sophomore. You know, like when you graduate things, like you just lose all sort of time. Like it's been 10 years since I graduated high school, and I'm like, Lord have mercy. All right. But I was in college, and I volunteered for this ministry called Love Brownwood. And what we would do is we would go to the church and hang out with kids on Mondays afternoon. That's how we loved Brownwood, as we loved on kids. And we would play dodgeball. And I love dodgeball. Number one, you can't ever really get away with hitting people with things, but in dodgeball you can, so that makes me happy. I'm a bit aggressive, I apologize. I won't hit you today, but if I could with a dodgeball, I would, no doubt. But the other part that I really enjoyed is that we would have these like macho, tough third grade boys, you know the ones I'm talking about, and I would grab a ball, and I'm a softball player, ex-softball player, I don't really do that anymore, but I would grab a ball and I would just hurl it at them and hit them, and they would just have this like look of like, who is this? Because women can throw hard too, okay? But that was also my second favorite part, is hitting little boys in the face, and I'm like, I'm a woman, here I am. So it was another Monday of intense dodgeball, and I just threw a ball and hit a kid, and I'm feeling good about myself, but I know that I am likely to get hit back, you know what I'm saying? So I'm literally, this is probably my speed, I'm like kind of walking backwards, and you know sometimes in life you're walking and you kind of fall over the side of your shoe and your ankle's like, old age, you know what I'm saying? And that happened to me, and I was like, it's fine, everything's fine, but then I heard a pop. And I don't usually I hear pops now because I'm like 27 and that's when it goes downhill for you. But back then, I didn't hear pops often. And so like I'm on the ground suddenly. I don't know how I got onto the ground, but I'm on the ground. And I'm like laugh crying because you're not supposed to cuss at church and you're not supposed to cuss in front of little kids. So I don't know what else to do but to laugh and cry at the same time. And so I'm over here and my friend Jerica's way over there. And I'm like, Jerica! And she's laughing because I'm laughing. But I'm like, this isn't funny. And I'm like, Jerica, I think I'm hurt. And she's like laughing. And I'm like, no. I know I'm laughing, but like I'm really hurt. I need help. I thought I had broken my ankle because like I had tried to put pressure on my foot and it just wasn't happening. So I'm like, oh dear, like my ankle's broken. So finally I convinced everybody that I'm actually hurt. And they take me into the foyer and you know the old thing, like if you've ever played basketball and you sprain your ankle and they're like, don't take off your shoe because it'll just swell. And so everybody's like, should we take off our shoe or shouldn't we? And it's a lot of like older men, nothing against older men, but somebody got to make a decision, right? And so I'm like, I would like my shoe off, please. I need to know what's going on. So they very quickly and not very carefully take off my shoe, and I'm like, oh, that hurts real bad. And when my sock comes on, I don't want to gross you out, but it's very apparent that my bones are no longer together. I broke my foot. And there wasn't like blood or anything gross like that, but you know, like where your foot is smooth, it was no longer like that for me. And so they take me to the hospital and I get x-rays and it's very swollen. They're like, it's broken. And I'm like, well, yeah. And I'm in a boot. And I tell you this because there was joy in my disconnection, because my doctor, I convinced him to give me a little handicap sign. I couldn't drive. It was my right foot, right? But all my friends could drive me places and we could park real close to the front. And that was a lot of joy for me. That was the only joyous thing about it, because I was in crutches and it was just not good. Disconnected things are dead. My foot, for all purposes, was dead. I could not use it anymore. I couldn't even put weight on it or I'd just start bawling. But when we talk about disconnected things, we're kind of like electronic devices, right? I have an iPhone 8. If I don't charge it within a couple of hours from now, it's going to die. Some of you have iPhone 12s and yours is never going to die. Welcome. You're awesome. All right? But if I were to unplug this TV right now, it would go blank. It would be dead. I couldn't do anything with it. So we are just like our electronic devices. If we aren't connected, we're dead. So let's talk about the bones in our body. Since I've talked about electronic devices, I've already talked about my foot bone. There's not a bone in our body that isn't connected to something else. Let me say that one more time. There's not a bone in our body that isn't connected to something else. And that just blows my mind. And I think it's very purposeful, because it would be awkward if our bones were no longer connected. All right, so let's say today, as you're leaving church, you get outside and your leg bones are suddenly like, you know what, we don't want to be here right now. And they just detach. All right, I'm not saying they broke, because that would be horrible, but they're just like, you know what, fam, we're done here and we're just going to lay down. That would be awkward, right? And I have a picture here. I tried to find a full skeleton, but that kind of freaked me out and I didn't know how to fit it on the screen. So if I take you back to anatomy class, which I never took, thank God. You know, some people are made for science. I was made for like history and hippo fun facts. That's all I'm good for these days. All right. But if we were to look at this picture, you can tell that every bone is connected. And so I want to make you kind of uncomfortable this morning and ask you this question. How many times have you disconnected yourself from the body? Maybe you're lucky and you've never broken a bone before. You better knock on some wood, because I said that once and here we are. All right? But let me be more clear to you. How many times have you disconnected yourself from the church? Ooh, awkward. That got real silent real quick. How many times have you disconnected yourself from your friends? And I get it. We are a culture that's very busy. You didn't mean to. Oh, I'm so busy this Sunday, I can't come to church. I understand there's grace for you. I'm going to miss church next Sunday. I get it. But there are some times in our life that we choose on purpose to disconnect. And that's where I want to go today. I want to know why. Why do we disconnect? Why is that? I think it's a choice that we all make at some point in time. You might be making it right now, and it's going to get real uncomfortable real fast, all right? So first thing, I think disconnection provides protection. Disconnection provides protection. Let me just throw a simple fact up here for you. The people that are closest to us tend to be the ones that hurt us the most. So if I'm disconnected from you, I'm protected, because you ain't gonna hurt me. Disconnection provides protection, because our brains, here's what we know, our brains are wired for connection. Every bone in our body is connected to something else. There's a purpose for that. Yet we've been hurt so many times, it's easier for us to just disconnect. All right? Or how about this? A lack of trust creates disconnection. We live in a society today that you can turn on one news channel and they're like, yeah, you 100% need to wear a mask. And you flip to the next channel and they say 100% you don't need to wear one. What am I supposed to do? A lack of trust creates disconnection. If I don't trust you, I can't connect with you. In our whole society, we don't trust each other. And it's easy because our media creates it for us. It's easy because my neighbor watches, I don't even know, Fox News, and I only am on Twitter. That's going to create some distrust between us, and I can't hang out with you if you don't watch the same things that I do. What about this one? Disconnection allows us to avoid vulnerability. A couple of years ago, this V word, vulnerability, kind of hit the stage because Brene Brown has done a lot of great work on vulnerability, and I think it's awesome and great, but I don't really want to do it. See, up until a couple of years ago, it was bad to be vulnerable because vulnerable equals weakness, and I don't want to be seen as weak. So you're telling me that now I need to be vulnerable to connect with you? I'd rather not. I'm good with keeping my pain to myself, and I can connect with you about, sports. That's still disconnection. Disconnection makes life less complicated. How? Because if I'm disconnected with you, I don't have to put in any effort. I used to live in Brady, and all my friends used to live in Brownwood. So if I wanted to hang out with my friends, I'd have to let them know 2 weeks in advance because I actually wanted to connect with them and I wanted to hang out with them. I wanted to do that. But disconnection made my life less complicated. If I didn't want to hang out with my friends, that's easy. Connecting with people is hard work. Disconnection to me is attractive. I'll be really honest with you. For me to get up here and be obnoxious, it takes a lot of effort for me. I'm actually very introverted. I'm an only child. I enjoy my alone time. I enjoy not being with people. People kind of get on my nerves, no offense, but you feel me, right? And so disconnection for me is very attractive because as an introvert, I tend to get my energy when I'm alone with my doggo. Even she gets on my nerves. I'm gonna be real honest. All right, so I have some knowledge about disconnection because I'm a millennial. I'm the M word that you all talk about. Millennials are nicknamed the disconnected generation. Let me just give you some facts about us. The Pew Research Center in 2014, they researched millennials, why they couldn't figure us out. We're weird, we're different. I'm just gonna say you guys birthed us, all right? So somebody's gotta be weird somewhere, all right? It's not just me, all right? But the first thing that they found out is that millennials are unattached. We're disconnected. The second thing they found out is that we would rather classify ourselves as independent rather than Democrat or Republican. I know, I'm talking about politics in church. Whoop. Right? But I'm just making a generalized statement. I'm not gonna, go into any of that, all right? But we would rather be alone than a part of some sort of group. We believe in God, but we're religiously unaffiliated. I love my Jesus, but I ain't about to be Baptist. I love my Jesus, but I'm not gonna come to church. I just want to be a good person. Millennials say that all the time. It gets on my last nerve. I'm just gonna be a good person. What does that even mean? All right, moving on. We move away from our parents' religion, but not toward anything of our own. So I'm going to disconnect myself from my parents, but I'm not going to connect to anything else. We are distrustful of others and would rather share our lives with our followers on social media than those in the real world. So for a millennial person, if you put yourself in the millennial category, which there's not many of us in here, woot woot, all right? Because we don't want to go to church. We just want to love Jesus, but we're not going to go to church, right? That's kind of who we are, right? We are very aware of our disconnectedness. But at some point, the disconnection is going to be painful. So I'd like to flip the script now a little bit and show you some lyrics by one of my favorite artists currently. His name is Justin Bieber. Now, okay, you can judge me, all right? I was like Team Bieber when he had like the hair that was like this, and he would do this all the time. I was Team Bieber then. And then he kind of fell off the deep end and I was like, not Team Bieber anymore. But now he's back and I'm like, okay, Team Bieber, all right? But he has this song called Lonely and I would like to show you the lyrics of it, all right? This is what the chorus says. I actually edited a little bit because it does say a bad word. And I don't want to get fired today, but maybe tomorrow, okay? He says, what if you had it all, but nobody to call? Because I've had everything, but no one's listening, and I'm so lonely. So if you watch the music video to this song, it's actually very heartbreaking because they have a little kid that looks just like Justin Bieber when he was a little kid. And he's on the biggest tour of his life. And the first scene of that music video, he's in a dressing room by himself. Have you ever been there? where you feel like you've had it all, but there was nobody to call, nobody to tell, because we're so disconnected that I can't even call you and tell you I got a new job. I can't even call you and tell you that these big things are happening in my life because we're so disconnected. And disconnection leads to isolation and loneliness. And I know we're tired of talking about the pandemic, but we got to talk about the effects of it, because the effects of it is isolation and loneliness and disconnection. Now, the pandemic did a lot of good things for us at Brownwood Community Church in particular. We started our online live stream. What's up? Hope you're watching. All right. But here's the problem. It created a space for us to not only watch Brownwood Community Church online, it created a space to watch any church online. I can watch 17 sermons on a Sunday. Isn't that crazy? And yet I don't connect with anybody. I don't connect with anybody. I can watch 17 things. I can learn 17 different things about Jesus, but I connect with nobody. Just like I can sit in the crowd right now, where you guys are right now, and I can go home after this and not say a dang thing to anyone. It's not online church that's killing us. It's the idea that consumption does not equal connection. I can read all the books in the world, and I can listen to all the podcasts in the world, and I listen to a ton of Jonas Brothers, but if all I'm doing is consuming, and we're not talking about the Jonas Brothers, I'm still disconnected. And just because I can watch 20 sermons today does not automatically mean that I am connected. Consumption does not equal connection. And let me tell you something else. Consumption was never the goal of the church. Can you imagine if the only reason Jesus came to earth was so that we could consume all that he was giving us, but we did absolutely nothing about it? What's the point? So this morning, I want to take us to Acts, which is the book in the Bible where we're kind of starting to put the church together. Jesus has already died, came back to life, and went back to heaven. All right, so we're going to go to Acts this morning because I think it paints a beautiful picture of what connection and church is really supposed to be. Acts chapter 2, verse 42 says, all the believers, say all. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Say all. All right, I'm going to treat you like little eighth graders if you're not going to listen to me. We're going to do it again. All right? All the believers. Scotty makes this corny joke. He always says, do you know what the Greek word of all is, or for all is? And then he's like, it's all. And you're like, great joke, Scotty. He's going to be mad at me that I said that. But he's not here right now, so I can say what I want. You know what I'm saying? All the believers. Not just this one group. Not just some. All the believers devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching. And you know what's cool about that? When they devote themselves to the apostles' teaching, that means they're devoting themselves to Jesus' teaching. Because the apostles were there. They saw it all. So they're devoting themselves to Jesus' teaching and to fellowship. Everybody devoted themselves to fellowship. You know what that means in 2021? Hanging out, chilling. All right? They devoted themselves to that. They devoted themselves to sharing meals. Can you imagine if we devoted ourselves to sharing meals? How crazy would our lives be? And they devoted themselves to prayer. And all believers, everyone, if you believed, that means everybody, not just one group, everybody met together in one place and shared everything they had. They sold their property and possessions and shared the money with those in need. Everyone did it. Not just you, everyone. What a crazy time, right? They worshiped together at the temple each day. Each day. There's 7 days in a week. 7 days a week. They were at church hanging out with each other. Not just on Wednesdays. Not just on Sundays. Every single day. And after that, they were like, yo, you want to come over and break bread with us? Everyone did it. Not just you and me. Everyone. And they shared their meals with great joy and generosity. all while praising God, enjoying the goodwill of the people. You know what's crazy about the church in that time period is that the church was the center of everyone's lives. It was the center of connection. And it just doesn't seem to be that way anymore. And I'm not critical of online church. I kind of gave it a bad rap today. You know what? I think we do a great job at online church. I'm thankful for Anthony and Jarvis and Brenda and all these youth kids that show up every Sunday to run these cameras. I'm not criticizing them. I think they're great people, and I think we're doing great things, and I think we can reach people. I'm critical of our ability to just consume and not engage our community. I'm critical of my ability to just sit at home and not want to hang out with people. Man, I moved to Brownwood, Texas because I love this community so much. I haven't seen my friends in like 2 weeks. I don't even know where they are. They ain't here. They're supposed to be here right now. They ain't even here. What the heck, right? I'm critical of our ability to just consume and not engage with our community. It's heartbreaking. Man, we are in a community right here at Brownwood Community Church, and I don't even know the people's name across the street. Yeah, we've been here for like 4 years now. I'm critical of my ability to just come here on Sundays and feel good and leave and not engage with my community. So typically when I end sermons, and I'm ending way early, I guess I'm on fire today. I typically end sermons with like, here's some positivity, here's some of this, here's some of that. And Scotty was like, you know what? What if in week 1 we don't give any solutions? And I'm like, I'm a solution type of person. What do you want me to do? So I'm going to leave you with some questions today that you can think about for yourself. How do you disconnect? I need friends. All right, I'm an introvert, but I need people around me. But what gets scary is when I begin to disconnect from God. Sometimes it's not disconnecting from my community. Sometimes it's me disconnecting from Jesus. I don't know how you disconnect, but it might be interesting to ask yourself that. Why do you disconnect? I disconnect most when I feel overwhelmed, when I feel stressed, when I feel tired. My friend Jordan will tell you around 8:30 at night, not a good time for KV because I start to disconnect because I start to get grumpy because I'm tired. All right? And she will literally look me in the face and she's like, I don't want to be here for 30 more minutes if you just want to go to bed. I'm like, that's kind of rude, but okay, you can go. Why do you disconnect? What are those things in your heart that makes you put up walls between you and other people? What are some ways that you can get reconnected this week? I'm not supposed to give any solutions, so I won't tell you ways of reconnecting because I'll get in trouble. Just kidding, I won't get in trouble. But what are some ways you can reconnect? There was a time in my life where I moved to this place called Fort Stockton, Texas. It was 4 hours away in Way West, Texas. If you've never heard of it, God bless. You don't need to go there, I can guarantee you. It's a community full of older people who have families, and that's about it. And I went there at 22 years old to teach high schoolers U.S. history because I felt like I was called there. And what I was called to was disconnection. I did not have any friends, zero, zilch, nada. I did not have any family members close. Luckily, my mom came and saw me. My family came and saw me. Katie, my roommate, now best friend, obviously came and saw me. But other than that, it was just me, myself, and I. And I can't tell you how much that changed me because I never want to go back to that place in that space in my head. Because here's what disconnection will tell you. Disconnection will tell you that nobody wants to hang out with you. Disconnection will tell you that God doesn't want you, that God's not with you, that God doesn't care about you. Disconnection will make you believe a ton of lies that are not true. So in December of 2015, I got a puppy, and she was awful. Lab puppies, I don't recommend, 100% do not recommend. But she changed my life because she made me get connected. I went to the park. I walked my dog. I said hi to people. And I connected with her, living, breathing thing. And because of her, 100% I believe that I was able to reconnect with God. Something about dogs, I don't know, they're like close to God or something. I mean, if you spell their name backwards, it's God. I don't know. But I just want to encourage you this morning. You know, we decided to do this sermon series about disconnection because we feel it. It's literally been a year, almost to the day that we went into isolation. And it's easy to feel disconnected. And I want to encourage you. I'm not saying that we have to throw a super spreader event. I'm not saying that. But who have you not called lately? Who have you not texted? Who have you not hung out with? Disconnection does not provide protection. It leads you down a road of isolation and loneliness. And for the next 3 weeks, we're going to try and combat that. So I hope you'll come back in 3 weeks, for the next 3 weeks. Figure out how to get reconnected with the body, with people. And let's pray. God, I thank you for the opportunity to talk about disconnection. It's hard. There's not a lot of laughs in here today, Lord, and I'm just not used to that. But I'm just thankful for the opportunity to just remind people that we're not alone in this life whatsoever. That even when it feels like we're lonely and isolated, that you are always with us. And God, I encourage the people in this building, the people watching online, the people that are not here with us this morning, to go out of their way to feel connected this week, whether that's calling somebody, whether that's going to the park and taking a walk, whatever that may look like, God. And I pray against the devil's attempt to make us feel like we're not meant to be connected, because we are. We love you and we thank you. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. You guys are dismissed. Have a great afternoon. See you next week.